We had a little interruption there, continuing where I was. So, with that paraphrase from Feige, we're only discussing, or he was only discussing, Netflix characters and Fox characters. There was no impediment for him using anything else that came from Jeff Loeb. He could have used them whenever he wanted. If he wanted to grab Quake and put her in Civil War, he could have done it. Nothing prevented him from doing that, so keep that in mind. The second quote, there are often rumors that are true, and there are often rumors that are not. It was great fun to have Clark Gregg Coulson come back to the MCU and Captain Marvel. Everything else, we'll just have to wait and see. Right, so again, Clark Gregg Coulson, he's from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's before the Fox sale. That's before Far From Home. Nothing prevented Marvel from using those characters if they wished at the time. So just keep that in mind. So here is what Sutton said in response to all this stuff. And this is a direct quote. First of all, he singled out Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as among the Marvel TV series with a very big fan base. The other programs he mentioned were Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. Now he forgets to include Daredevil too, but Daredevil was also said. This isn't random. He never spills the beans until he's ready. The substantial followings he described provide a reason for Disney to resurrect those shows. Read between the lines. Those are programs that Marvel Studios is planning on bringing back. Regarding Marvel's, let's pause there. So for those of you who don't know or just don't remember, Sutton has predicted Jon Bernthal will come back as Punisher and get a Punisher show, and that Iron Fist will come back just with a different actor. Now, Feige didn't mention either of those shows. So if those are coming back, as Sutton says they're coming back, but Feige didn't mention them, which shows he mentioned no longer becomes relevant. It's no longer a way of assessing what is or isn't important. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so back to our quotes. Regarding Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. specifically, the Marvel Studios producer admitted that there are often rumors that are true. Okay. Furthermore, many have claimed that they don't even exist, speaking of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., in the MCU. Feige shot those down. No, he didn't. There's nowhere where he specifically said, yes, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon to the Prime Marvel Universe. That's simply not true. I'm not saying Sutton's lying. I'm just saying he believes an indication says that, and I'm saying nothing clear says that. It's an important distinction. Back to the quote. He said that it depends on the situation. Some of it will be kept in continuity while others will not. So that's the end of his quote. So part of the problems is, there's a number of problems with this statement, but going through them. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was not singled out. It was one of a list that by Sutton's own logic actually doesn't mean anything, right? And you can't say that the shows he named are of importance if they don't include shows that you say are coming that would have been included in that list. It just doesn't work that way. So I don't buy that at all. It also takes special pleading to relate the fan base of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to a Netflix show. I've gone through the numbers. It's an article I posted towards the end of January. And they aren't comparable. And I mean, you can figure this out on your own without too much trouble. Go on YouTube and look for the CW's Flash, a show whose ratings have gone right through the floor. It's very low. You will find a lot of videos from YouTubers talking about it with decent views and a decent amount of discussion. Try doing that for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There's nothing there. There is a fan base, don't get me wrong. Sutton is certainly part of it. People who follow him, Lords of the Long Box. There's definitely lots of people out there, but they are a small, very small core, too small to actually support secondary content. So they are not comparable in terms of audience draw. You are not going to bring anyone in to watch a show or see a movie because Quake is in it. All the people who are interested in Quake already watch the MCU. It is a non-factor for advertising. That is not the case for the Netflix IP. Plenty of people who don't normally watch Marvel material watched various Netflix shows, particularly Daredevil and Jessica Jones. Those are the two, I think, with the broadest and biggest draws. But that's not remotely the same. So I think that's a invalid comparison he's making. The other reason we know his list is not some sort of secret signal to those who are there to read the tea leaves is it doesn't include Agent Carter. And Agent Carter is the only Marvel Entertainment show Feige actually had a hand in. If he was going to run along and talk about shows that were relevant, Agent Carter certainly should have been in there because we saw Jarvis in Endgame. You know, it's and I mean, Agent Carter is a very easy show to include in continuity because it happens at a time when it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant, really, unless you want to do a flashback. A flashback film that takes place in the 40s or 50s. It's, you never have to worry about it. It's very different from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s continuity is an issue that we'll get into. So, speaking of continuity, Feige doesn't reference continuity anywhere. He doesn't say, yes, it is in continuity anywhere, as Sutton applies here. And he also did not shoot down the idea that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't part of continuity. Sutton is aware he didn't directly say this, so what he's saying is it's implied. And I just disagree with that. Now, Feige is a smart guy. He rarely says anything that's very definitive because he's not interested in offending anyone. If you are a fan of something, he wants you to also be a fan of what he's doing. So he's never going to come out and say, hey, Jessica Jones season 2 was garbage, which it was. Or, hey, Luke Cage went off the rails after the first half of the first season. Stuff like that. I think things that are broadly understood, or The Hand was absolutely goofy and terrible, the way it was used in both Daredevil and The Defenders. He certainly understands that. He's well aware of that. He's seen the market research, whatever his own opinion is. And Disney, Marvel particularly, cares a whole lot about market research. There's a great quote from Taika Waititi about that. But, you know, he's never going to say things like that. He's always going to be positive, and he's going to be vague. That's why he never argued against the it's all connected. That's why when Amy Pascal straight up lied and said that all the Sony stuff was going to be part of Marvel, he didn't say no. He just made a funny face that became a meme. So I think this is the case of where it's, you know, classic confirmation bias. Sutton would really, really like not just the characters from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to appear in the MCU, but for that continuity to matter. He and the other fans of the show would really like that. And I completely understand that. If I was a fan of the show and the way they are, that's what I would want to. But I don't think you can look at what he said and come to that interpretation. I think that the best you can do is say there is a chance characters from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be brought over to the MCU. Not in their own IP. They're just not popular enough. You're not bringing in a new audience with them. But that would be your best option. But to imagine that 7 seasons of continuity, I think it's 130 episodes, something like that, is going to be thrust upon your average couch surfing Marvel fan who's seen half the movies, it's simply too much. And I know there's an argument to be made that the early seasons worked hard to not contradict MCU continuity. I understand that, but the later parts are certainly different. And regardless, it's just too much material. You've got WandaVision, which is MCU. It's going to lead into Doctor Strange 2, and Doctor Strange 2 is being written just in case someone didn't watch WandaVision. You can't do that for 7 seasons of Clark Gregg. It's not something you can expect your audience to keep up with. It's too much. So that is my long rambling disagreement with him over Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I will remind you, I have been wrong before. We both have, but I have been wrong before. I did not think we would get Charlie Cox back. I still kind of want to see what version of him we're getting. But I did not think we were going to get Charlie Cox back. Sutton did, and he was right. He wasn't the only one who was right about it. But He was correct. He is back in some way, shape, and form. Evan Peters is back. Although I do think the situation with Fox is quite different. But Evan Peters is back as something. Is he Quicksilver? Is he not? Remains to be seen. But so you have to give Sutton credit. He certainly was right, at least in some sense, on those things, and I was wrong. But as I said, the main point of contention for me with him is continuity. I don't see the continuity. There's no profit that I can see from Marvel. The only argument you could make, I think, is that even though Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is currently airing on Netflix in many countries, that you could argue at some point it'll come back, and you want to retroactively give it some value for people to binge later on. But I just don't think there's enough of an audience for that to actually be profitable. As I was saying earlier, all the people who are fans of that are already signed up for Disney Plus, so you're not gaining anything by having it there. So that is the end of my long spiel there. I will try to do these regularly. I don't have a schedule in mind. And I realize this looks like a video made 10 years ago. Sorry. But the plan would be I will try to put one of these out around the same time I put out the written version. I have a rough draft of my review for WandaVision, along with some other tidbits of news. And we will go through that. And hopefully give me some feedback. Beyond a lack of some technical things, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'll certainly take pointers. Hopefully I was easy enough to understand, and this is fairly clear, and we can go forward from here. But anyways, until next time.